Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Hello, book lovers. Welcome to Must Love Books. Hello, and welcome back to Must Love Books podcast. Today, I am here with Hannah Soul-Marie, editor and podcast host of Brave Bitches. Hannah, hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. Thanks for having me here. I love reading. I love books. I love stories. So I feel like we're gonna have a great combo today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think first things first, we have to dive in and talk about the Brave Bitches Club.
Yes, so good. That is basically my passion project, my life goal of things. It is a community for women to get together, part book club, so fangirling over fantasy books, fiction, all the things we love. And then also part, I do community events, and I'm planning a retreat for this year. So like the main goal is basically a space for women to get together, have fun, show up as ourselves, and not feel like we need to put on some mask or be some perfect person, but just be able to get together and have fun. Kind of like the best kids sleepover you had as a girl, where you were like, oh my gosh, let's show up and giggle and fart and, do all the things you did as a kid, where it was all the permission for whoever you were, your weird self. That's kind of the vibe I want to bring into the events that I do now. And so most of the events I do now are virtual. So that's awesome. There are literally women from all over the world that join. I mean, I live in Peru right now, so I'm already on the other side of the world from a lot of people. And yeah, it's just been such an awesome, fun thing, and I have the best time ever.
I love just a open community where you are welcome as you are, here and now, able to just kind of be seen and be heard and just exist where we are.
Mhm. Totally. Yeah, I feel that there's a lot of opportunity for community and things online, and I see like a lot of, education-based things, right? So like you can go to a yoga class, or you can go to some other, class online. And I really like don't want any of that. I want it to just be like to show up and vibe. Let's just hang out. Let's just be ourselves. And it's really been so much of that. We also get women from all ages, which is rad. Women all the way up into their 70s, 80s, teen years. My niece joined the last event. She's 15. And so that's the best part too, is I feel like we as, a people need each other, but especially as women, I feel like we need each other. And when there's that intergenerational community and us getting to hang out, we start to realize how much we are alike, that we're really not that different, And there's something so powerful and special about that, to be like, whoa, you have lived a totally different life than me, and yet we can still find something to connect on. We can still find a way to be human together, and that's just like the most magical little thing.
And I think it's just so important for women, especially now, for women to be able to have a place to just take up space and
Mm.
exist and, be loud and excited and just express ourselves, however we are feeling, whatever we, want to share with each other and just really connect in a way. I think that is something that is vital, so
Mhm.
important.
So important. I know there's a lot of things that want to put women in a box, show up a certain way, don't be this way, no matter what community you're in or where you live in the world, there's something that wants to put you in a box and wants to say you need to be a certain way. And I just want to call BS on that, that we don't have to be in that certain box, especially if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't feel like you at all. And so yeah, getting to have spaces where we can show up and just like say, I'm super pissed off today. Like, that's not even something that's normally welcome, is to be like, yeah, I feel angry. I'm a pissed off woman at what's happening in the world or at just, even something that's happening in your own personal life. But to be able to show up and say that and be like, yeah, you're welcome here. Please tell me. Go into it. Dive in, girl. Tell me all the things you're pissed off about. I want to hear it. And I'm not going to try to fix you. And I'm not going to try to tell you to calm down. I'm just gonna say, cool. Thank you so much for being real with me. And that's the good stuff.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you even refer to it as the Brave Bitches Club because bitch has often been used in a derogatory way to describe
Hmm.
women as being too loud, too aggressive, too opinionated, just too much, and as a way to kind of push women down and force them into that box, whatever that
Yep.
box may be. So I love that you're able to, take this term and really flip it on its head
Hmm.
and allow women to express themselves through it.
Yeah, exactly. I really do. That word has been used in so many ways to just tear women down or to tear men down by like comparing them to women, right? So still tearing women down in another way. And so I feel like words have power. I mean, obviously I believe that. I'm an editor and I love reading and I love stories. So words have power, but also we're allowed to give the definition that we want to, right? So if we can retwist that and say, this is what it means, this is the weight that I'm going to give this word, like bitches is going to be something that feels super empowering for me. Like I love the idea of that, of rebranding it, taking it, turning it on its head and saying, we're going to own it like as women and say, this is something that's going to bring us together instead of tear us down or pull us into some other direction that's just doesn't, yeah, that sucks. So that's not what I'm about. I want to be like, we're bitches, but we're brave and we're showing up and we're being ourselves. And yeah, so it's awesome.
I love that. So you do a lot of events with the Brave Bitches Club. Do you want to tell us about some of your upcoming events you have in the works?
For sure. So right now I have a monthly book club that's free. We mostly do fantasy fiction novels. We kind of vote on it with the group, so that's super fun. If you come to one of them, then you get to help pick out the book for the next month. And then I also do a monthly conversation circle. They're kind of like the whole goal is basically you show up. I have some sort of theme. I like to create like fun themes that you jump in and you're like, oh, we're talking about relationships, but then all of a sudden you're opening up your whole heart to a stranger. And so it's like fun themes that allow for us to just have conversations and connect. And so it's a lot of breakout rooms and just meeting new people and hopefully making friends and getting to feel heard and seen. And then I also have a retreat that I'm planning for September that's going to be here in the Sacred Valley in Peru. So if you are wanting like part adventure, part like hang with your girls and make lifelong besties, that's going to be the vibe. It's going to be super fun.
That sounds honestly so amazing.
You should go. Please come,
I should.
Krystle.
I think I'm on. I think I'm up for it. Let's do it.
Yay, that would be so cool.
So anyone who wants to learn more about Brave Bitches or join you in one of your upcoming events or your book club, where can they find more? How can they
Yeah.
connect?
So they can go to my Instagram if that's their thing, either at Hannah Soul Marie or at Brave Bitches without the I. Or you can go to my website, which is hannahsoulmarie.com/brave bitches. So yeah, you can, or if you just search Brave Bitches, as of now, I'm the only one, so you should be able to find it on Google and stuff too. So yeah.
I'm gonna test that right now.
Okay. Oh
I'm
no.
gonna I'm
What if
gonna
there's like
Google.
four other Brave Bitches? I'm gonna be
I'm
so
gonna
pissed.
Google Brave Bitches and see what bitch pops up for me. And it's you. It is you.
Yes.
We have tested this in real time. You can even just Google Brave Bitches and you'll find your people.
Perfect. Love it.
So when you're not being a brave bitch, well, you're a brave bitch all the time. But outside of the Brave Bitches Club, you are also an editor. And that
Yes,
is
I
what
am.
originally drew me to having you on this podcast today. The Brave Bitches was just the icing on the cake. So let's talk about some of your editing work and maybe some of your favorite tips as an editor to share with our author listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am an editor for indie authors. I primarily do copy editing, but I also have done some developmental editing projects. And yeah, I have been so fortunate to work with literally the coolest women ever in the world on their books. And I continually feel like it's honestly like such a gift to get to have someone's like precious little baby that they wrote and be like, yes, let me help you bring it into the best version of itself. And so yeah, I've worked on some rad projects. There's a couple projects that are coming out. I mean, I just want to shout out a couple girls that I'm working with, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
One of them, Jess Lane, her book In Beds of Flowers is a romantasy novel that's coming out in March. And it's so good. It's amazing. I love it so much. I did copy edits on that book. Um, so yeah, and then I have a few other projects, but I think they're not coming out for a while. But yeah, editing tips. I feel that that's kind of tricky because that could be such a broad thing. I think that if I were to give like just simple tips. I think a lot of people, at least when I've talked to indie authors, you're kind of jumping into something that's new, right? Especially if this is like your first novel and you're like, okay, well, where do I start with an editor? Where do I start with, editing in general? And so they'll kind of write the first novel and then they'll like already start reaching out to editors. And so my number one thing is I always just like I have turned away plenty of authors to say, hey, come back to me in a couple months, but edit this first yourself. And so a huge pointer that I always say is like read it and edit it probably 5 times before you even let someone else get sight on it. Um, that is just because there's a lot that comes with, you get really excited, you get this workout, and then you're missing lots of little things, right? And if you immediately go to hire an editor, for one, you're going to pay a lot more, which I know most of these indie girlies don't have the money to pay someone huge amounts of money to do a bunch of work, right? So as much as you can do yourself, as much as you can fix yourself, the better. And so, yeah, that's kind of my number one tip. I don't know where else to go with it, but that's my number one thing is like to just really dive deep into your story over and over again before you even go out to try to reach and get another editor.
That is really excellent advice. Um, I also am a writer occasionally in between things. And I have always been a edit as you go kind of writer, and I have stopped that pretty much
Hmm.
completely and focused just on the writing, and then went back and actually read through it, just to read through it, not even focusing on like an editing mindset, but just to read it as if I was reading it for the first time. And just doing that, I was able to pick up on like so many little things here, like outside of, spelling mistakes, grammar. Oh, this is supposed to be a new paragraph. Noticing those kind of things, but also like just noticing things like, oh, here I said this was this color, and then later I said it was a different color. I need to
Yeah.
fix that. Like, and just picking up on those little things by looking at it just as a reader. And
Hmm.
then I went through and line by line and like really focused on, putting on that editor cap and really thinking of it from that point of view. And I think that is honestly a really great way to start the process. Obviously, then
Hmm.
after that, then it's time to work with somebody who might be able to pick up more than what you're able to do. Because it is hard to edit your own work.
Totally. Yeah. I love what you said though about that you stopped editing as you wrote. I think that's huge. That's a really great tip for writers as well because I think there's a lot of them that it takes you so much longer if you're editing while you're writing And let's be real, you're still going to have to edit just as much, even if you're editing while you're writing. And so I love the idea of throwing perfectionism out, and just getting the story down. Let it be bare bones. Let it be kind of the just overall structure of it. And maybe you even have sections where you're like, add more here, types of things. But if you can get that full thing out, for one thing, you're going to get that kind of mental satisfaction that's going to be like, all right, whoa, I did something, I can keep going, which already motivates the psyche. It motivates you to keep going. But then also, it allows you to then like go through, as you're going through, you have more to add, and each editing level is going to just keep making this book better. Like, my husband is actually an author as well, and he always says that 10% of his book is writing. So 10% of the creation of his book is writing, 90% is editing. And so I feel like that is so, that's the key to him. He's just able to bust these books out all the time, is because he's like, no perfectionism. He doesn't care if he's, misspelling words in that first draft, or if he's, it's not perfect, because then it allows him to actually not get writer's block, not get stuck on something, and just get it out. And then later on, you can come back and you can clean that manuscript up and make it its pretty little self.
There are so many projects that I ended up abandoning because I was too focused on editing as I go and having everything be perfect as before I continue on to the next chapter, and constantly rearranging things in this very minimal, barely finished manuscript. And once I finally was able to let go of the edit as you go perfectionist mindset, then all of a sudden I was able to finish a manuscript like so fast. It was short. It was, now I'm currently working on adding like 20,000 more words to it because, yes, it
Hmm.
was short, but it was complete. Like, it was
Hmm.
a full story. We had beginning, we had the arc, we had the end. And now I'm just in the spot where I'm just bringing in more development and more character, and adding in like it's a little bit of a horror romance or a paranormal romance, so I'm like,
Ooh,
let's add in a few more spooky scenes here, let's add in a
yeah.
little steamy stuff over here. So that's where I'm at now, is just kind of really embellishing the world, and then I
Mhm.
can sit down and do and finally go through and actually edit it.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like the creativity gets to flow a little bit more that way. You get to play with it, and less like this structured type of thing, but getting to play, right? This is an art. You're getting to tap into that kind of childlike self that's like, oh, let's just see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. And maybe later on you're like, well, maybe that shouldn't have happened. Let's tame that down, or maybe let's add more to here. And so, yeah, then it's like every stage ends up getting to tap into your creativity, instead of just, the first one, or just this like kind of stringent thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, that taking that advice has completely changed how I approach writing, and has led me to actually finishing work and actually,
Yay.
getting into query stages on some other projects. And it's
Oh
been it's
yeah.
been honestly really awesome. Just
That's
being
so
able to
cool.
change that mindset has really changed my ability to actually be a writer.
Congrats. That's so cool. Honestly, I love art in general, but like writing, I feel like when someone tells me that they've like finished this project, or they're writing a book, oh, it makes me so excited, because I feel like we need more books, like especially in this time, like we need more artists that are out there telling stories that are reaching all different types of people. And so I really feel like you're doing so much good in the world if you are continuing to create art, not only for yourself, but for everybody that gets touched by that as well. You're creating those ripple effects in the world, and that's powerful. Like, tell those stories. And some people say, oh, some genres are not as valuable or as others, and I just think that's crap. Like,
Yes.
you know, because art is subjective. So maybe you're not going to reach a certain type of people, but you might reach another type of people that wouldn't want to read whatever you think is the top echelon of type reading, you know? And so as long as you are connecting with people and you're connecting with yourself, like, oh, I think it's so exciting. So I love what you're doing, Krystle. I'm so glad you are out there writing and creating.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, what I really love is how being a writer or other form of artist really kind of correlates with your Brave Bitches Club because you have that taking up space and you have that expression and just putting yourself out there in,
Mhm.
multiple different ways. Do you find that the Brave Bitches Club has kind of had an effect on your creative processes?
Yeah, for sure. I actually feel like maybe my creative processes has led to me creating the Brave Bitches Club because you're so right. I feel that there is such a need for people to take up space, for voices to be heard, for art to be created and spread. And so that all really correlates exactly to community. It's the same thing, the way you show up and present yourself to people, how you connect with others. Like we connect through stories. We connect through creativity. Like that's all like it's all interwoven, you know? And so I think that more so my kind of passion for that has led to me then creating these communities because it just feels like it's all a part of it. Like each person is their own beautiful little art piece, you know? And if we can show up and be our intricate little self and maybe it looks a little different than what you thought originally, or you're still figuring out what you're trying to create and who you are, all of that is so welcomed and is so needed. Like we each have our own value and what we bring to the table in this world. And yeah, so I feel like it's all literally the same thing. And some people are like, wow, you're doing so many different things. You know, you do this podcast, you do these women's events, you edit books. And I'm like, they're kind of all so correlated in my mind. It feels like they have the same theme of just stories, taking up space and embracing the artist in ourselves.
I so agree. Like, I sometimes feel like I'm doing a lot. I do my writing. I am a big reader. I do my podcast, which, incorporates a lot of reading as well as some book clubs and some writing. And I've been writing some poetry as part of another club. And like, sometimes it feels like doing so many things. But on the
Mhm.
other hand, it really all kind of is just different aspects of the same thing, and that is books and art.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm so curious. I know this is just a side thing, but you say you love to read. Like, what are some of your favorite books or genres?
Okay, so I'd have to say like my all-time favorite book series has to be The Hunger Games.
Okay, yes.
And I've actually just finished, literally just a few days ago, finished listening to the audiobooks with my youngest daughter, who has really gotten into, she started with the movies. And she said reading the books, she's 8, so reading the books was a little too advanced for her. But
Hmm.
then she found out about the audiobooks and she's like, okay, let's do this. So like every day, like 10, 15 minutes before bed, we'd play 15 minutes of a Hunger Games
Hmm.
audiobook. And it took us few months to get through the trilogy, but we have gotten through the trilogy and now she is just as obsessed as I am. So I'd have to say
That's
that
so
Hunger
cool.
Games is my favorite series. But I read a lot of different things and it honestly really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. But I like
Same.
horror, I like fantasy, I like romance. Um, Especially like romantasy. I'm not super huge on like contemporary romance.
Hmm.
Um, but like paranormal romance and fantasy romance and even sometimes a horror romance, sometimes you got to get one to kind of mess with your head a little bit. Just every now and then shake things
Yeah.
up.
Create a little twisty twist in there. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And really anything that is like dystopian, I'm also down for. Like, if you're gonna make me cry or make me think, I'll probably read it.
Yes, yes, yeah, I love that. Hunger Games was my absolute favorite book series when I was in high school. I just, oh, I was so obsessed. And I am not really a rereader. I don't like to reread books very often, but I've reread The Hunger Games because I just feel like you can. It's a good one. And my niece also, I that was her first book series she ever read when she was 12 and she was obsessed. And I was like, I love that you connected with your daughter on it because me and my niece, I was like, this is so cool getting to talk to you about the Hunger Games and just like fangirl over all these pieces with you. It's so fun. Yeah, I love Hunger Games. I am kind of a mood reader like you though too. I hop around and sometimes usually I'll get obsessed with like a genre for a few months and just read that genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then I'll
until you
switch
finally get
back.
sick of it and then you have to read
Yeah.
something else for a while. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly. So,
definitely get that.
yeah, like I think last year I hadn't read romance since high school, and last year I dove straight into like all the trendy contemporary romance novels. And so I read a bunch of those. And then I also really got into fantasy last year too. I was reading a lot of fantasy. But I also like thrillers and horror and historical fiction. And yeah, I love a book that makes me cry. Please just like suck me into the emotions. I want to be like I want to be like feeling what the character feels, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that. Even like some people are like, I hated that book. It was so sad. I'm like, "Ah, that's why I crawled in bed and sobbed my eyes out and I loved it. Loved every second of it. Yeah.
So what are some of your favorites?
Oh, that's so hard. I know my one of my favorite fantasy novels that I read a few months ago is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know if you've read any
I
Sanderson
have not
books.
actually read any Brandon Sanderson yet. I'm like, eventually I'll get around to it. My TBR is like, I'm still working on books that came out like years ago. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna take me a while to get to some of these newer ones. I mean, occasionally something new comes out and I'm like, okay, I have to read this right away.
Hmm.
But there's so much stuff like I'm years behind on some of these tr bookish trends. Like I
Yeah,
haven't
me
read
too.
any ACOTAR, which I've said like on this podcast so many times that people are angry with me. Like I have not read any S.J. Maas at all. I haven't read any T.J. Klune yet. I haven't done any Brandon Sanderson. I own a
Hmm.
few books by all of those authors.
Oh,
I just
really?
haven't actually picked them up yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't dove in like to Sanderson very much either. I know a lot of people that are like, you read fantasy and you don't read Sanderson. He's like one of the greatest. A lot of people say that. And I haven't read any of his series, but I know my husband has and he loves them. But I read Trust of the Emerald Sea because it's a standalone. And my husband was reading it and he was reading out some of the quotes. And I don't know if you've read The Princess Bride before. Have you read
Yes.
it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, that is one of my top favorite books. I also love the movie, but the book, just like I will reread that book because it always makes me happy. I just feel like it's just a cozy, good, silly little read, right? And Trust of the Emerald Sea has some of that kind of similar quirky humor, where it's just like it's just fun. And so when my husband was reading out some of the quotes from it, I was like, all right, I have to read that book. And I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. And I love that it's a standalone. So you're not committing to like thousands and thousands of pages with Sanderson, because I know his novels are fucking huge.
They are
Um,
huge.
they're huge. And so yeah, that book though, if you like a good like whimsical fantasy kind of funny story, it's really good and it makes me really happy. I was recommending it to everyone in my life.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. I actually have. Hold on. I have this one that I got recently and I haven't read it yet, but it is As You Wish, Inconceivable Tales from the Making of The Princess Bride. And I
What?
picked this up at a bookstore. I saw it at Barnes and Noble on a table and immediately snatched it off the table. Like,
I have
check
to
this
read
out.
that. Oh my gosh, the art in it is so
Yeah, it's
cool.
got some pictures in it. There's actually like cast photos right in the middle of the book and some behind the scenes photos, which is super great. And it's just got a whole bunch of like just different stories about and from everyone's words. Like it's mostly written by Carrie Hughes, but it's got words from everyone about like here's a little story of like a paragraph from, Mandy Patinkin of like some random thing that happened one day on the set. And so I'm really excited to pick this one up. And as soon as you mentioned that you love Princess Bride, I'm like, oh, I have to
Yeah.
recommend that one.
Oh my gosh. I wonder if I can get that on my Kindle. It probably won't be as cool because like you have all those great photos, but I read only on my Kindle right now since I'm overseas. But
Yeah,
if I can
yeah.
get that on my Kindle, then I'm definitely gonna read that because I love The Princess Bride. That was like a childhood favorite movie, and then when I read the book as an adult, I just realized I'm like the geniusness of this story. It is just so funny. And the book is even funnier and better than the movie, which I didn't even think that was possible.
Yeah,
But it
it's very
is. It's a
witty.
great one.
It's a fun one
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely recommend that to any kind of fantasy reader.
Hmm.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, I'd recommend it even if you're not really a fantasy reader. I'd kind of still
Yeah.
recommend it. Like it's just witty and,
It's
the
just a good story. It's like it feels
yes.
very simple, which is great. So it's like you can connect with it no matter what genre you typically like reading because it's just a simple, fairy tale type of story, except for it's got a little sprinkle of sass. And yeah, it's
Yes,
the
it is
best.
sassy. I love that. I
Uh-huh.
love I love some good sass in my books.
Yeah, me too. Me too, me too. That's why I think I've been liking some of the contemporary romance novels is there's like a little sass, a little witty banter, And yeah, that's fun. I think that keeps me sucked in a little bit. But I always have to balance it out with like a good thriller that like fucks with my mind a little bit. And then I go,
Yes.
you know what I mean? I need the palate cleansers between the two.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
So we are in early 2025 and I haven't really done much reading yet this year. I've read like 3 books as of the date of recording. So let's look at 2024 and what were some of your favorite reads of 2024?
Wait, can I pull up my Goodreads?
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull mine up now too.
Okay. I'm like, I actually, so I made a goal to read 50 books last year. And
Me too.
so
Mine was 50.
oh, cool. I reached my 50. Um, but that actually, like, I know like some people online are crazy. They're like, I've had 250 books. I'm like, what? How do you live? What are you doing? What do you only read?
I have a friend
Um,
who did over 600 and it's all audiobooks.
oh, they're just
She does a lot of
constantly.
like driving and stuff, so she
Mm-hmm.
constantly has an audiobook on. So she did like 600 books last year.
Okay. Um, can I have a controversial opinion right now?
Yes.
Okay, everyone's been hyping over Onyx Storm, right?
Yeah, yeah, my
And
mom is
so,
currently reading it. I haven't read them yet. I wanted to wait until Onyx Storm was out before I started reading the series because I
okay,
hate waiting so long in between. So I
same.
figured like wait till a couple of the books are out and then I'll get into reading it because my list is just too big to, put something on and then wait forever for it to come out
Yeah,
and then forget
yeah,
it and have to reread it. And I don't have the
yeah,
time for that kind of rereading right now. So yeah,
for sure.
now that Onyx Storm is out, I'm gonna actually start reading the series.
Okay, so you might hate my controversial opinion then, because I started reading Fourth Wing this month because I was like, all right, I gotta do it, for the hype. And this book everyone's raving about. I don't like it. I don't like the Fourth Wing. It's just, there are so many reasons I could go into, but I'm just like, I don't understand all the hype behind it. I personally read Akatar and I enjoyed it. It wasn't my most favorite book series I've ever read, but I had a good time. I am not going to read anymore after Fourth Wing. I already know that. I'm finishing up. I'm like 95% of the way through the book. And I just like Violet to me feels very young. very young in a weird way where I'm like, I feel like I'm reading about like a 15-year-old and she's like engaging in these things. So that feels weird to me. And then also like the story feels very modern while not modern. And anyways, I love dragons. I'm a sucker for a dragon. And so that's why I was like, cool, this is gonna be rad. Romance and dragons, yes. It's not for me. It's not the book series for me, but to each their own, you know?
Yeah, I have actually heard that take on Fourth Wing before as well, that like the characters feel YA and they feel kind of teenagery-ish, but they're in
Yes.
very adult situations. And I have heard about some people, expressing a disconnect between the characters, their actual characterization and the world that they're in and the things that they're engaging in are much
Hmm.
more adult, whereas the characters feel YA. So I have heard that hot take
Yeah.
before. You're not
Interesting.
alone.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but yeah, it feels like I'm reading like a Divergent, you know, where like
Hmm.
they feel very young or things like that. But then it's like, yeah, they're in much more adult situations. Yeah, I don't know. Um, but it did make me want to read some more dragon books. So I'm gonna go look into some more dragon books that aren't Fourth Wing, but yeah, so that's my take for 2025. All right, best books that I read of 2024. Let's see. I already told you Trust of the Emerald Sea. That was the best fantasy that I read. Um, some good, I liked Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors. It's a thriller. Have you read that one?
I haven't read that one. I have a couple Alice Feeney's that a friend gave me, so I haven't actually dove into them yet, but I have like two or three of them. I'm not sure if that one's one of them or not.
Yeah, I liked that one. I read Coraline for the first time. I'd seen
Oh
the movie, but
yeah.
I hadn't read Coraline. Obsessed. So, so good. Just like the cutest story. Loved it. Um, I read, have you read The Butcher and the Wren, or The Butcher Game?
No, I haven't.
So it's by Elena Urquhart. They actually, her and her sister have a podcast called Morbid. It's
Oh,
a true
cool.
crime
Awesome.
podcast, and I've been obsessed with that podcast for like years now. And so one of the hosts, wrote this book, and it's a thriller horror. I don't know if it's horror, but it's interesting because half the book is from like a, the victim's perspective, or the one of the investigators' perspective, and then half of it is through the serial killer's perspective. So it's pretty
Okay, I'm
dark.
in. That sounds fun.
Yes. And so like when you're reading through his perspective, like his mind is like messed up. But I read the sequel last year, and that's called The Butcher Game. And that one was even darker than the first one. But I think I recommend them, especially if you, it's like very psychological because you get to hop into kind of the mind of him and why he's doing it. And he feels so justified in that, you know, and it's fascinating. Also makes me concerned for the author. I'm like, girl, are you good?
Are
I'm
you
like,
good over there?
you you need some help because how did you even do that? Like that's dark. But it was good. Okay, another book. This is just a shout out for an author I'm also working with too. But I read this book last year, is The Marriage Wars. It's dystopian uh romance, kind of romance. Um like it's a very interesting story of this like kind of alternate world in the future where everyone is placed into these like marriages, and you are expected to follow these certain rules, and if you follow these certain rules then you get these like perks, right? So you either get money or vacations or these types of things. It's to incentivize everyone to follow and stay in this like box in this kind of dystopian world. And one of the characters is kind of breaking out of that. Anyways, I'm editing her next book right now, and the first book was amazing. I really, really love it, and I highly recommend it. The Marriage Wars, especially if you like dystopian. Krystle, you mentioned that, so I feel like you
Yeah.
would probably like this
Yeah,
one.
I'm definitely gonna pick that one up.
Yeah, so those are some of my favorite. I mean, I have a bunch more on here. Oh, I like Behind Her Eyes, the thriller by Sarah Penborough, something like that. Um, But I don't know, my standards for thrillers are kind of low. So
Yeah.
it doesn't like it doesn't have to be the best thing I've ever read. I just have to like have a good time. Even if I kind of predict what's gonna happen or like the character, I'm like, you suck. If I had a good time reading it, then I call it a win. And so I had a good time reading that book.
That's how I see it too. Like, did I enjoy this experience? Like, that's good enough for me. It doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily have to be like the most incredible thing I've ever read. I
Yeah.
mean, 5 stars when it is, but as long as I'm enjoying myself and it doesn't feel like work to get through it, like
Yeah,
then it's good. Like you did great.
totally.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I feel like I have to go into that mindset too when I'm not like editing for work. When I'm reading, I have to like go into my happy little bubble and just float along and just take let the story take me where it's going because otherwise it's like it's hard to separate those two things because I do so much reading for work, quote unquote, right? And so it's like I have to just be like, let's just vibe, you know? Like you don't have to be the best book ever. I'm just here to vibe with your story.
So for 2024, I also had a goal of 50 books and I made it. I hit 57.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
So now this year I'm going to try to do 60, just
Yeah,
a
yep.
couple
Just
extra.
hmm
Um, and I kind of read all over the place, but all of my favorites just kind of like feel like they fit together. So some of those would be Yellowface by R.F. Kuang.
Oh,
Oh my
yes, I've heard of
goodness.
that. I think it's on
Yes.
my TBR.
I really enjoyed that one. I did that one as an audiobook, which I highly recommend doing because the narrator did such an excellent job of being insufferable. Like she's
Yes.
a great narrator, but like she just fit the character so well.
Hmm.
And the character is not a likable character. Not at
Yeah.
all. She's a terrible human being. Like she is awful. And like just having that narrator, it just felt like so much being in her head that it was
Mm.
so well done. Excellent. 5 stars. R.F. Kuang, anything
So
she
cool.
writes is 5 stars. I also loved The Hurricane Wars. If you want a good romantasy, I recommend that one. It originally started out as a fan fiction for Raylo, and then the author rewrote it and brought in a whole ton of like Filipino culture and
Mm.
Filipino myth into it, which I really loved, and then created just this beautiful, beautiful world and story. So I highly recommend Hurricane Wars.
Cool. I'm adding these all to my
I
to my
see you. I
Goodreads.
see you. You're adding them on there. Another really great fantasy series, and the third one just came out, but I haven't picked it up yet. But I read the first two, and it was Children of Blood and Bone and Children of
Oh, yep.
Virtue and Vengeance. Oh
I've
my
heard of
God,
that too.
so obsessed. And I'm waiting for the third audiobook to be available on my Libby, which is like a 4 more week wait.
Oh
So
my
I'm
gosh,
super
Libby sometimes
excited.
is crazy. You rent a
hmm
book and it's like, it will be ready in 20 weeks. And you're like, wow.
I've had it give me just like several months and like not
Yep.
give me a time frame. Just
Vague.
like it's
Yeah.
gonna be months, babe. You're waiting a while on this
Just
one.
get patient, girl.
So I'm really excited to start that one soon, and I know that they're working on a movie for the first one, which I'm super
Whoa.
pumped for.
Sick.
Let's see, what are a couple other ones? I did a lot of like romantasy. There was A Fragile Enchantment. Oh, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Super cute. That one was really fun.
That's cute.
My
I like the name of
Vampire
that.
Plus One was really cute. I read the arc for that one. I did a lot of weird, random, short smut stories for my Something Smutty Book Club, and those
Love
were
that.
all interesting reads, and that's all I'm going to say
Yeah.
about that.
Honestly, I feel like smutty books are like thrillers for me where my standards are real low.
Yes. Yeah, the standards they're not even there.
Yeah.
There just aren't any. And, for
Yeah.
our book club, like we'll read anything and we have really stuck to that.
Yeah. But honestly, that's the best for a book club because
Yes.
sometimes you want to show up and be like, whoa, that book was not great. And then you get to talk about it and you get to dive into, and so I feel like that's fun is like not always picking the best books of the world for a book club, but just a book where you can actually have opinions about it and talk about it and like have fun with it.
Yeah, we do it as part of the podcast. So we
Oh,
all of our
cool.
book clubs are shared as episodes of the podcast. So that's Something Smutty Book Club for those that want to check those ones out. And we don't necessarily pick good books. In fact, I don't think we've had a single book where we all actually enjoyed reading it.
So funny.
But like we've had some wild ones. Like there was Seduced by the Pumpkin Spice Latte. And
Wow.
yeah, a wild ride. Like we do some crazy ones on there. There was one that I actually read out loud, and let me tell you, that was very difficult to do. We had to keep stopping because I kept laughing too hard. But that was Stuffed by the Were Turkey.
My God.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so
so
good, dude.
crazy. Yeah, we
So good.
find like at first we were like, let's try to find like just some like fully fleshed out, no pun intended, smutty, spicy reads. And then it very quickly descended into the most
Madness.
unhinged, chaotic stories that we could possibly find. And we have found some that are very, very
Have you
chaotic.
done Fork or something? I saw someone posting
Oh,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you did that one?
We haven't done that one yet, but
Okay.
I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Um and I definitely think we have to do that one because
Yeah,
you
it
know
sounds like it's right up your alley.
I mean, we're all probably gonna hate it, but it'll be super fun.
Yeah.
We have a couple bottles of wine and we have a bunch of cheese. We sit and laugh and
And
just,
talk shit,
shoot the shit.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
exactly.
go. Yeah, that sounds so fun, dude. That's honestly the vibe. And the fact that you recorded too, that's awesome. I haven't listened to any of those. I need to though.
You have to because they're wild.
Yeah, that sounds so fun. And do you guys meet in person for that too?
Yeah, well, we're gonna
So
play
fun.
with doing some Zoom ones because it's getting hard. There are like, what, five, six of us? Like, it's not a tiny group. There's like
Yeah.
six of us. So it's getting hard to kind of schedule everyone to come out in person all at once. So everything we've recorded so far has been in person, but we're gonna play around and see if we can try a couple Zoom ones and see if it works out with that many different Zooms going at once. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, that's super fun though that you get to do it in person because then you guys are just like vibing off the energy with each other and just
Oh
having a good
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And we just spend half the time laughing and making each other laugh. And then we'll like randomly jump into games of like smash or pass. Like
That's awesome. That's so fun. I love that.
yeah, so we've been having a lot of fun with it.
That's so cool. Yeah. Oh, I love all the books you just recommended me. I'm putting them all on my Goodreads. I'm excited to read them. Yeah, I feel like my TBR is like ridiculous. It's so big. But it just go off vibes. I'm not in like an order, you know? So I'll just
Yeah,
go
I
through and I'll be
can't
like,
plan out my reads at all. And I
oh,
try to, especially when I get arcs. I really try to like plan when I'm going to read when. And let me tell you, it has never once actually worked out for me.
no,
Never.
no.
So
I
I'm
can't even
giving
read
up
a
on
book
that.
series in a row. I'm a bad person. I'll like read I'll read like one book in the series and then I read like some other random book and then I'll read the next book in the series. Then I'll read a couple other random books. Then I read the next book in this like I never read it in a row because I don't know. I'm like I need a break from the world to do something else, you know? It's yeah. I know some
For a
people would feel offended by
series,
this.
yeah. For a series, I usually, go one to the next.
Mm,
But
yeah.
not always. Like, especially, well, and that's part of why I wait until more, that there's a few out. Unless it's something where I'm just like so intrigued that I have to read it right now. But like, there's a lot of stuff where like, there'll be like two books out, and I hear, okay, the author says there's going to be three more. I'm probably not going to get that series yet. I'm going to
Yeah.
wait.
Same. I'm the same way because it's like, yeah, then if it's been years between books, I'm gonna forget completely when I read. I'm gonna remember little tiny pieces, but I'm not gonna remember the whole
Yeah.
part of the story that's gonna make you really appreciate the new book when it comes out. And so yeah, and like I said, I don't like rereading that much. So yeah,
Yeah.
better to
Like
wait.
I enjoy rereading books. I just don't necessarily have the time for it now, compared to the good old days when all I could do was just read all day long, whatever I wanted all the
Yeah.
time because I didn't have to do things like work.
Be an adult
Yeah,
sucks.
exactly. So like during those days, like I could reread a series a million times and it would just be totally cool. But now I don't often, if I reread something, it's because it's been years since I've read it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. That's cool. I'm excited. We should connect on Goodreads, by the way, so I
We
can.
should. I'm not quite as active on it as I always plan to be, but I'll like, okay, here's like screenshots of 20 different books that I like screenshot off of TikTok or something. So I'll just sit down and like add them all on my Goodreads so I can get those photos off my phone.
Oh, yeah, that's smart. Yeah, I basically just use it to keep track of books that people recommend to me and then to mark what books I read. But I don't really write a bunch of reviews. Usually I'll just give the stars and things like that. I know some people are real involved.
Yeah, I kind of only write reviews if it is a arc that I got, then I'll review it. Or
Hmm.
if it's something that I did for our Something Smutty Book Club, then I usually leave a review too to be like, hey, we read this for book club. Come listen to
Smart.
us laugh
Yeah.
and drink wine and
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
spend a little bit of time talking about the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Spend tiny portion of the time. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if you guys ever do it online, I would seriously love to be invited to come
Yeah,
to your book club.
if we figure it out, if we make it work, I will definitely invite you sometime. Like we have very specific rules for our book choices because one, we don't want to spend money, so it has to be available on Kindle Unlimited.
Mhm.
And two, it has to be under 400 pages.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so short little
Yeah,
ones.
so they
Yeah.
have to be short. And lately, we've actually just been going through like, is it under 100 pages? And does the title sound absolutely insane? And then we read it.
That's even better. I love
Yeah.
that. That's so
Yeah.
fun.
So that's what I have a Excel sheet of like 50 different like comedy eroticas to put on for us to do book club with and like there's some very unique ones on there.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's like the chaos of it though. You need the chaos.
Yeah, we are all for the chaos.
That's so cool. I love that so much.
I just want to thank you for coming on and joining me and talking about books and brave bitches and editing. And this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, oh my gosh, this has been so much fun, Krystle. I feel like we def have to hang out more outside this podcast because I love talking about books in general, but I feel like we just had such a good time talking about it. So thank you so much for having me here. If anyone wants to connect with me, hang out with me, join my book club, any of that good stuff, you can find me at hannahsoulmarie.com. You can find me at Instagram at Hannah Soul Marie or at Brave Bitches Without the I. And yeah, basically have all my links and all that good stuff on there. So come hang out with me. My Discord is also on there too. So if you like Discord and you want to hang out, it's the perfect opportunity. Krystle's part of the Discord, so you
Yeah,
should
and
definitely
I'm loving
come.
the
Yeah.
Discord. Definitely come find us on there. We'll hang out, we'll talk books, and we'll just exist and take up space.
Love it. Exactly. Let's take up all the space.
Thank you everyone for listening. This has been Must Love Books. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon under at Must Love Books Podcast. Thank you and happy reading.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.